Alright, we're in the middle of December now, and we're back at the shop where this 1968 Cougar is. It's going all summer long, and not a bit of progress has been done to it. It conflicted with space and stuff, so we're finally going to attack this, and the guy never found new fenders for it. Previously, somebody attached some heater duct metal, you know, that thin galvanized stuff, and it wasn't, you know, the right thickness, and it doesn't have the right gap between the rocker and the end of the fender, and they were welded right to the cowl. So we cut that off, made some tabs, made a bottom strip so that you could unbolt the fenders, and now the gap is a little too wide. We're trying to add thickness to where when it's finished it won't look stupid with a big gap between the fender and the rocker. So we got this little piece of strip to fill in this gap, and then we're going to give it some thickness with some wire so that when you're looking at it from this angle it won't look cheap with, you know, thin sheet metal. Usually it's the end of the fender is folded back over and gives it some thickness, but that's too hard to do. There she is. Alright, we finally filled in this gap that's at the bottom here between this rocker and the bottom of the cowl. So after it's all mudded in, it'll look better. But up in front, remember this is a strip of steel that has been added, and then there's tabs welded to the cowl with holes and bolts, so you can remove the fender now. And it looks pretty ugly up in the front. We got to make a part of this inner fender lip with a curved piece of sheet metal and finish it off, and then it'll look like, you know, a stock fender. I can fit on one fender. Probably. Let's just go for it. Okay, now you can see what we're dealing with right here. This 1968 Cougar is pretty hard to come by, and we even checked up on just buying new fenders, and they wanted like $350 a piece, and to ship them was like $1,000 from out west to here. So he didn't ever find any new fenders, and then the guy didn't want anything changed here, but you can see where this is like metal from a heater duct, real thin galvanized sheet metal. And the car, like I said, was a parts car, and it should have been, you know, just used for parts, but he ended up saving it. Some unwitting subject came along and bought it because they didn't know what they were looking for. Like we talked about this before, if you're not really familiar with cars, hire somebody that does know cars, or take it to a shop and have it lifted up on a hoist so you can see where there's damage. They probably won't want to let, if they have anything to hide, then you know not to buy it from them, because a lot of stuff is concealed. And if they just fix it the right way, it's a lot quicker than trying to do it this way. You know, if we just had the patches, but I don't think they make this stuff for a Cougar. They make everything for a Mustang, but diddly for a Cougar. As you'll see, all this boogery weld that's been ground down is where the guy made the bottom of his fender, and then he just welded it to here. Well, this was all rusted out at one time. And in order for the guys that took this thing apart to even start working on it, they had to cut the fenders free from the car. You know, we went through all this rot. Like I said, the car was all gone structurally. And as we patch it up, now we're finally getting to the point where we had to mount a fender. So we just made these tabs here and put a straight piece of 1 inch by 1/8 inch as a mounting structure so it can be unbolted. You know, these go through the bottom and then to there, and they're slotted so you can move them around. And you work with what you got. I should have a finer point of pencil.
It'll all be ground down.
Whenever you have a situation where the money is run out and it's not your vehicle and you just got to get her done, this is the kind of stuff you're going to end up finding yourself doing, because you don't want to do it like this. If it was your own car, you'd do it right, but you got to try doing it as good as you can and just get the job done. After we grind it all down and it's bondoed, I don't know how it's going to last, but especially when you're putting an expensive paint job, the guy's going to get a really, the deal is all worked out and they're going to get a good paint job, but it's always the foundation that is the most important for it to last a long time. It's just like a house. If you don't have a good foundation, you're never going to have anything last. It'll just crumble down. What we'll try to do is seal up as much as we can with the seam sealer and just have the situation be able to shed water off or not hold water, and undercoat it all in here. And it's probably going to last a couple of years, and in that amount of time, if the guy really likes the car and he wants it perfect, he could always find another set of fenders, right? Or he might get tired of that color. And when it gets painted again, then he'll get better parts or patch panels or something that'll fix it proper. But just being white, it's not going to show that much. If it was black, this would all show bad. But we're going to do a lot of blocking out and get it as straight as possible, and with white it should look pretty good.